You are listening to the Primitive Intelligence Podcast, episode 617, Echoes of the Ancients, OOPARTs Unmasked. This week, I dive into the mysteries of the past and explore the enigmatic world of OOPARTs. But what exactly is an OOPART, you ask? Well, buckle up, because we are about to embark on a journey through time and space, to uncover the truth behind these out-of-place artifacts that are challenging everything we thought we knew about history. This episode of the Primitive Intelligence Podcast starts now. OOPART stands for out-of-place artifact. It refers to an object that is found in context where it should not logically exist, according to conventional historical or archaeological understanding. These artifacts often challenge established chronologies, suggesting the possibility of advanced ancient civilizations or alternate historical narratives. Examples of OOPARTs include modern items found in ancient geological deposits, sophisticated machinery in prehistoric contexts, or artifacts that did not fit with the technological capabilities attributed to the time period in which they were discovered. The acronym OOPART, or OOPART, stands for out-of-place art or out-of-place artifact. It was coined by Edinburgh-born biologist and writer Ivan T. Sanderson, born in 1911, died in 1973. Sanderson was one of the founders of cryptozoology and the founder of the Society for the Investigation of the Unexplained, the SITU. For this episode, I used the Encyclopedia of Out-of-Place Artifacts by Martin K. Eddington as my base. This particular book is a collection of different OOPARTs he uncovers in previous books of his. I listened to this as an audiobook, took notes of some of the OOPARTs mentioned, and then did a little research of my own for this podcast. So let's get started. The Kensington Runestone. Now, a rune is a character or symbol that is part of an ancient writing system used by various Germanic peoples before the adoption of the Latin alphabet. Each rune symbolizes a specific sound. Each rune symbolizes a specific sound, concept, or idea, and often holds mystical or magical significance in traditional Norse, Germanic, and Anglo-Saxon cultures. Runes were commonly inscribed on stone, metal, wood, or other materials, and were used for communication, divination, ritual purposes, and magical practices. But what is the Kensington Runestone? Well, this is a large, flat slab of grey-whack sandstone inscribed with runes. The grey-whack is a type of sandstone characterized by its more than 15% clay content, giving it a gray color and a composition of angular, poorly sorted minerals. The Kensington Runestone, or the KRS, was reportedly discovered by Swedish immigrant Olof Oman on his farm in Minnesota back in 1898. It measures 30 inches in height, 16 inches in width, and 6 inches in thickness, weighing around 200 pounds. Oman claimed he found it under a tree he was uprooting. He initially thought it might be an Indian almanac due to the strange markings. The generally accepted translation of those runes reads as follows. We are 8 Goths and 22 Norwegians on an exploration journey from Vinland through the west. We had camped by a lake with 2 skerries, small rocky islands. One's day journey from the stone. We went out and fished one day. After we came home, we found 10 of our men red with blood and dead. AVM, which stands for Ave Virgo Maria, or Hail Virgin Mary. Save us from evil. We have 10 of our party by the sea to look after our ships. 14 days journey from this island. Year 1362. Here's a little historical content and some key figures surrounding the Kensington Runestone. As mentioned before, Olof Oman is the farmer who discovered the stone, providing an affidavit in 1909 detailing the discovery, although his although inconsistencies on his account have been noted. Then we have Niles Flatton. Well, this was Omen's neighbor who corroborated Omen's story with a similar affidavit, though there were discrepancies in their statements regarding the location of the find. Then we have Yalmer Holland. He purchased the stone in 1911 for $10 and became its staunch defender, arguing for its authenticity despite criticisms regarding the inscription's language and historical context. And then we have the Minnesota Historical Society. They issued a report in 1910 raising questions about the stone's discovery date and supporting some skepticism about its authenticity. Even though there is a transcribable text of runes on a stone, there are some problems with the stone's authenticity. First, inconsistencies in the discovery accounts. Omen and Flatton's affidavits provide conflicting details about the exact location and date of the stone's discovery. The Minnesota Historical Society report differed from the affidavits, adding further confusion about the timeline and specifics of the discovery. Second, there's geological and inscription evidence. The stone's patina and the appearance of the runes suggest a more recent inscription. Freshly incised letters contrast it with the weathered surface, which would not be expected if the stone had been buried for centuries. Initial observers noted the sharp edges and fresh appearance of the inscription, inconsistent with a 14th century origin. And then third, there's some linguistic issues. The runes on the KRS included characters and linguistic features not consistent with 14th century Norse writing. The inscription's language closely resembled 19th century Swedish, with specific words and grammatical structures that were modern rather than medieval. What would the potential motivations be for a hoax? Well, first, cultural and historic influences. Scandinavian immigrants in Minnesota had a keen interest in Viking history and folklore, possibly motivating the creation of a Viking artifact. The period saw other speculative works and claims about Norse exploration of North America, such as Erasmus B. Anderson's America Not Discovered by Columbus, and the popularity of the Gokstop ship replica at the Chicago's World Fair in 1893. Second, the affidavit discrepancies. The affidavits from Omen and Flatton, created 11 years after the discovery, contained details that conflicted with each other and with the Minnesota Historical Society's report, raising questions about their reliability. Now, these affidavits were done 11 years later, so human memory is not the best, but still discrepancies. And then third, knowledge of the runes. Evidence suggests that Omen and others involved had access to books and knowledge about runes. Contradicting their claims of ignorance, Omen owned a book on runestones that he had signed and dated years before discovering the KRS. The conclusion I found is that it's likely a 19th century hoax. The Kensington Runestone appears to be a product of the late 19th century, likely created as a piece of local lore or playful project among friends. Despite the initial excitement and subsequent defense by figures like the preponderance of linguistic, geological, and contextual evidence points to the KRS being a modern forgery rather than an authentic medieval fact. The enduring fascination with the stone highlights the powerful allure of Viking myths in American history and the complexities of historical. I've got a picture of the Kensington Runestone in front of me here, and it definitely exists. There is a giant slab of stone that has runes on it. Now, the picture I see here has the runes highlighted so they're easier to see. And it looks old, but if it's from the early 1900s or late 1800s, there would still be wear on that to this point. It exists. Is it authentic? That, I don't know. Not the only runestone found in the United States. Next, we're going to go to the Heavener runestone. This is another large sandstone slab measuring about 10 feet by 12 feet. Became became a significant monument largely due to the efforts of one determined woman, Gloria Farley. Initially known as the Indian Rock, locals believe the Choctaw made the carvings. Farley, however, turned her childhood fascination with the stone into a lifelong quest to uncover its origins. We'll look at this in a couple different points of view. First, let's look at Gloria Farley's investigation. She had an early interest. She first visited the stone in 1928 as a young girl. Returning in 1951, she dedicated herself to investigating the stone's origins, aiming to prove it was inscribed by Vikings in the 11th century. The Smithsonian Institute identified the 8 carved characters as Scandinavian runes, interpreting them as Gnomedal, Gnomedal, meaning sundial or monument valley. In 1986, Dr. Richard Nielsen from the University of Denmark, although there is no such university, this might be a reference to an American university with Denmark in its name. It's not really clear on that, but he translated them as Glomedal, Glomedal, meaning Glom's Valley. Now, there's some different theories and controversies as well here. There's the Viking theory, Farley's primary theory, that it was Vikings that carved the runes. Alternate theories and other speculations include they were carved by a member of the 17th century explorer La Salle's expedition, or a Swedish captain during the 18th century French colonization, or a 19th century Scandinavian farmer who might have created a hoax. Critics point out the lack of other Viking artifacts in Oklahoma, although similar runestones have been found in Podo, Shawnee, and Tulsa. And this is another one. The runestone exists. This is a big piece of rock, 10 by 12. It hasn't disappeared to history. And as a matter of fact, they've established a state park around the runestone. In 1970, the area around the runestone was incorporated into a 50-acre state park. Farley's dedication not only preserved the runestone, but also protected the surrounding cliffs of Podo Mountain and the fort. Today, the park is known for its hiking trails, beautiful sunsets, in addition to its controversial Viking past. Gloria Farley's relentless belief and efforts transformed the Heavener runestone from local curiosity into a central monument of state park, ensuring its preservation and continued intrigue. Now, that's Gloria Farley's researches. Now, let's look at Henrik Williams, who also researched the Heavener runestone. Now, Henrik Williams is Scandinavian languages professor at Uppsala University with over 30 years of runestone study experience, visited the University of Central Oklahoma to discuss the Heavener runestone. His visit highlighted Oklahoma's unique status as a U.S. location with the most runestones, a point of local pride. Williams praised the Heavener runestone as one of the most impressive runic monuments worldwide, notable for its sheer size. Here it says 12 feet high and over 12 feet wide. Not 10 by 12, but close. It features 8 runes translating to, he says, the Gnomedal, Gnomedal, or Glomedal with, I can't do the runic speak here, but Gnlomedal, Glomedal. Gnilomedal? We'll say Gnilo, which interprets as Little Valley. The runes belong to the Elder Firthak system, used between 100 and 700 AD, predating Viking activity. Williams unequivocally stated the stone is not a Viking artifact since the Vikings emerged post-700 AD. He emphasized the absence of evidence for 6th century European habitation in the area and credible records of European presence in America from that period. Dating runestones is challenging, with the first credible record of the Heavener stone from 1923. Claims of its sighting in the mid-1800s lack supporting evidence. The stone's modern appearance and tool markings suggest it could be a 19th century creation, possibly inspired by a book on runes published in the 1860s. Melinda Valentine, Heavener's Chamber of Commerce manager, disagreed with Williams' conclusions, advocating for continued research before dismissing the stone's Viking origins. She cited ongoing studies since the 1950s supporting a Viking-era creation. Williams also examined the Turley Hill, Poto, and Shawnee runestones. The Turley Hill stone, he says, not a runestone, lacking the necessary 2 runes. Shawnee stone, found in the 1960s, contains 5 runes, but likely not ancient. And the Poto stone, modern inscription, evident from visible tool marks and lack of weathering. Williams stressed the importance of probability over possibility, suggesting that while he cannot definitively prove the stones are modern, the evidence strongly favors this conclusion. Nonetheless, he acknowledged their cultural and historical significance, regardless of their actual age. Williams concluded that while the Heavener runestone might not be ancient, its impressive nature and mystery surrounding its creation still make it a significant and fascinating artifact. He encouraged appreciation of the runestone story and its role in Oklahoma's heritage. So for me on this one, with the runes being from a set of runes that predates Vikings, I don't know. It could be older than they think, or somebody just used the wrong rune set when they made their copy of this or made their masterpiece. I don't know. But it's interesting either way. And the more you look in these things, the more you see that there are a lot of runic, Viking, Germanic kind of influences in the United States when there really shouldn't be. Now, next one, we're going to look at a different kind of inscribed stone. This one I've heard about for a while, and it's pretty interesting. This is the Cambodian Stegosaurus. The Cambodian Stegosaurus is a term used to describe a controversial carving found at the Ta Prohm Temple in Angkor, Cambodia. This carving, often cited by proponents of out-of-place artifacts, OOPARTs, depicts what some believe to be a Stegosaurus, a dinosaur known for its distinctive row of bony plates along its back. Here's some key points about the Cambodian Stegosaurus. The carving is located on a column in the Ta Prohm Temple, which was built in the late 12th. Stegosaurus, a dinosaur known for its distinctive row of bony plates along its back. The Ta Prohm Temple, part of Cambodia's Angkor Archaeological Park, built around AD 1200 as a Buddhist monastery. A little bit of background on the area. So Ta Prohm Temple, it's part of Cambodia's Angkor Archaeological Park. This was built around AD 1200 as a Buddhist monastery, part of Angkor Wat, the largest religious monument globally, and the most extensive pre-industrial urban complex. And then there's this dinosaur depiction. A stegosaur-like carving on a column at Ta Prohm has sparked this controversy. Some people interpreting it as evidence that humans and dinosaurs coexisted. Now, I'm looking at a picture of this, and if you want, go ahead, pull up Google, just look for the Cambodian Stegosaurus. You'll see it. It's interesting. It looks like kind of like a Stegosaurus. It's in this weird circle that looks like maybe a snake forming around it. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be, but it's this animal, appears to have 4 legs, a tail, a high, kind of large arched back, and a very low, large head, which is bizarre looking. It doesn't look exactly like a Stegosaurus, but it does have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 plates going from its shoulders all the way back down its tail, like you would expect a Stegosaurus to have. I think the tail's different. There's no spikes at the end of the tail. I believe Stegosaurus had spikes at the end. And the head is really big. But it's hard to tell if this is supposed to be an ear or something attached to the head. I don't know. It's definitely interesting with all the other things that are carved in the stone. And this is what's known as a bas relief carving. So this isn't something that happens. This isn't just etched in. Someone took a lot of time. Why would you carve an animal into a temple that you didn't know what it was? So let's look at the skeptical views on this. The large head and missing tail spikes. Critics point out discrepancies with known Stegosaurus anatomy. Some argue the plates may be decorative rather than anatomical. I've also seen that some people think that when they say decorative, they don't mean that it was decorative for the animal that's there, but decorative in the carving, and that comes up in a minute. Creationist arguments suggest artists drew from memory or secondhand reports, leading to the anatomical inaccuracies. Evolutionary paleontologists have also been known to add features like larger heads for realism. When they did examination of this, they found that the detailed depth analysis revealed the plates on the back of the creature were part of the animal depiction, not just a background foliage. So it wasn't just ornamental in the carving. And then there's what they call the muzzle hypothesis. The oversized head and the missing tail spikes might indicate domesticated Stegosaurus, muzzled for control, similar to how modern animals are handled. And then maybe the spikes are removed so it can't swing and hurt people. I don't know. But imagine having, instead of cows or mules or donkey, you've got your barnyard Stegosaurus. Comparison with other temple engravings showed a unique approach to the Stegosaur depiction, suggesting it was done intentionally. Chinese records of dragon domestication support the idea of domesticated dinosaurs, possibly influencing the Khmer artists. There are people who believe that dinosaurs of Chinese legend were just that. There are people who believe that dragons of Chinese legend were just dinosaurs. This would fit. Some skeptics argue that the carvings might be based on fossil finds. However, the absence of excavation records and the inaccuracies in early paleontological reconstructions weaken this hypothesis. This isn't the only carving. A second Stegosaurus-like carving found at the prom, depicting a more accurate head shape, supports the domesticated dinosaur theory. When I'm looking back at this picture of this carving, maybe there just wasn't enough room to make the head right. I don't know. It is weird. You can see where there's maybe an eye and a mouth. It looks familiar. It looks like a familiar dinosaur. I can't put my thumb on what it looks like. Now, the domesticated dinosaur theory. The interpretation of the Stegosaurus carving as evidence of domesticated dinosaurs aligns with the biblical creation perspective. I'm not sure how. This is what I found. Don't shoot the messenger. This is just what I found. This theory explains the anatomical features in context better than fossil-based or purely decorative explanations. The carving suggests that ancient civilizations might have interacted with living dinosaurs, contrary to the mainstream evolutionary timeline. An interaction between the Khmer and Chinese cultures might have facilitated exchange of knowledge about dragons influencing the temple artwork. So is it something like that? Did they not actually see this, but they got information from the Chinese about dinosaurs, and they thought, oh, yeah, we could carve that in there. We need another animal for the spot. I guess it's possible. One of the websites I looked at for this information, their analysis of the Tapram Stegosaurus-like carving considers various theories and evidence, ultimately proposing that the ancient artists depicted domesticated Stegosaurus based on their observations and cultural influences. I don't like to say never. So is it possible that a Stegosaurus, or maybe an evolutionary branch of Stegosaurus, and that would explain the differences, survived long enough that they had him at Angkor Wat? It wouldn't be the first weird animal. People who have seen things like Loch Ness Monster say they look an awful lot like a plesiosaur. Different, but an awful lot like them. Could they've changed or evolved in a way that make them similar but different enough? Sticking with the stone carvings. So sticking with the stone carving theme I got going on here, we're going to look at the Palenque astronaut. A little bit of background here. King Pakal, also known as Kinins Janab Pakal, I'm 100% positive I pronounced that wrong, was a Mayan ruler of the city-state of Palenque in modern-day Mexico. He reigned from 615 AD until his death in 683 AD, and is one of the most notable figures in Mayan history due to his long and prosperous reign, during which Palenque reached new heights in terms of architecture, art, and cultural achievements. But then there's the Palenque astronaut controversy. The controversy surrounding King Pakal is primarily based on the intricate carvings found on his sarcophagus lid in the Temple of the Inscriptions, Palenque's largest pyramid. This artwork has been interpreted in various ways, leading to the popular yet contentious Palenque astronaut theory. So let's look at some of the key elements of the sarcophagus lid. The central figure, the carving predicts King Pakal in an elaborate pose, seemingly reclining on a raised platform. The figure is surrounded by numerous intricate designs, including what appear to be celestial and underworld symbols, as well as elements of the world tree, a crucial motif in Mayan mythology representing the connection between the heavens, earth, and the underworld. And then some claim that the surrounding imagery resembles modern machinery. This includes what appears to be foot pedals, hand controls, and breathing apparatus, leading to the speculation that Pakal is depicted as operating a spacecraft. This brings us to the ancient astronaut theory. Proponents of the ancient astronaut theory, notably Eric von Daniken, in his 1968 book, Chariots of the Gods, argue that the sarcophagus lid shows King Pakal piloting a spaceship, hence dubbing him the Palenque astronaut. They suggest that the ancient Mayans had contact with extraterrestrial beings, which influenced their advanced knowledge and achievements. Mayan scholars and archaeologists, however, offer a more grounded interpretation. The carvings are rich in traditional Mayan symbolism. The central figure is likely Pakal, descending into Xibalba, the Mayan underworld, a common theme in Mayan funeral art. The machinery, quote unquote, is more plausibly interpreted as the world tree, which in Mayan belief supports the heavens and has roots in the underworld. Pakal is depicted as part of this cosmic structure, symbolizing his journey in the afterlife. Elements surrounding Pakal represent various mythological and natural aspects, including serpents, celestial bands, and other deities, fitting within the broader context of the Mayan religion and cosmology. I'm looking at the picture, and it's weird. It definitely is a weird pose. I don't know if I can turn this picture. I've got to embed it in here. I don't think I can. The way I'm looking at it is it's laid on its side instead of vertical, the way it's, I think, meant to be viewed. But yeah, the guy's looks like he's laying on his back if it's supposed to be vertical. And it does appear to be along the center line from top to bottom what could be interpreted as a tree trunk. At the bottom, what people claim are flames coming out of the spaceship could very easily be roots. And it does appear to be leaves at the top. There's a lot of other stuff in there that I can't identify because I'm not familiar with the iconography or the symbology of the Mayan. I don't see a spaceship. I don't see it. Sorry. It's cool. It's a very cool carving. And it's a neat idea. And I've seen representations of this on shows like Ancient Aliens, and they draw the outline so you can see what they see. But I think you're stretching to see a spaceship out of this. I think they're depicting this guy going to heaven. All right. We're done with the stones for a little bit here. Next thing I want to talk about is the Saqqara Bird. The Saqqara Bird is a small wooden artifact discovered in 1898 in the tomb of Pa Dai Ayman. Again, that's probably wrong. In Saqqara, Egypt. This 2,200-year-old model, weighing just over 39 grams, was meticulously carved from sycamore wood and features a wingspan of about 7 inches. 180 millimeters. What makes the Saqqara bird particularly intriguing is its design, which some believe resembles a modern aircraft rather than a typical bird. Its wings have a modern airfoil shape and the anhedral angle, like you would expect on a plane. And its fuselage is aerodynamic, similar to the design of modern airplanes. Additionally, its tail is rotated 90 degrees, like vertically, like a rudder, making it unsuitable for flight as a bird, but possibly functional as part of a modern airplane or model airplane. In 1969, Dr. Khalil Messiah, a professor of anatomy at the Helwan University and an aeromodeling enthusiast, came across the Saqqara bird in the Egyptian Museum. He proposed the artifact was a model airplane rather than just a decorative bird, pointing to its aerodynamic design and lack of traditional bird features like feet and feathers. Dr. Messiah suggested that the missing horizontal stabilizer could have once been attached to the vertical fin, thus completing its potential as a functional model. To test this theory, Dr. Messiah built a replica of the Saqqara bird with the missing tailpiece and found it could glide, just for a few meters, but it could glide. Other experimenters have built similar models, which also demonstrate limited flight capability when properly balanced. However, these experiments have not definitively proven that the Saqqara bird was intended to fly. The theory that the Saqqara bird is a model airplane has obviously sparked significant debate. While some claim it supports the idea that ancient Egyptians had knowledge of flight, others argue it could simply be a child's toy or a symbolic representation rather than evidence of advanced aeronautical knowledge. Skeptics point out the lack of physical evidence for the supposed missing tailpiece and the absence of any other flying models or depictions of flight in ancient Egyptian records. Alternative theories suggest the Saqqara bird could have been a weather vane or simply an artistic representation. Despite the various claims, the true purpose of the Saqqara bird remains a mystery, and it continues to be the subject of fascination and speculation. Today, the Saqqara bird is displayed in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, where it continues to intrigue visitors and researchers alike. Its aerodynamic shape and enigmatic design keep it at the center of discussions about ancient technology and the possibility of flight in antiquity. It is a very interesting carving. And this is a legit 2,200-year-old artifact. This, I'm looking at a picture of it now. The wings, it looks more like a fish with wings to me than a bird. Did they have flying fish back then? Could somebody have seen a flying fish and that was their representation of it? I wonder if anybody ever thought of that. Because you can see where the eye is, and there's maybe a little bit of a beak. The body looks smooth, and the tail is vertical, like a rudder, like I said, instead of flat, like a horizontal, like a bird's tail. But the wings, or wing, I should say, it looks like a boomerang that someone just attached to the top, notched out and put it in there. It's just a solid piece, and it goes across the top of the body like a plane, like a small plane. It's really interesting. Depending on your ideas and beliefs about who built the pyramids and the Sphinx and all that stuff, and did the Egyptians make Egypt, or did they just migrate there and they just took over what they already found? At some point, someone there had some technology and ideas that were well beyond their time. So is it impossible that Egyptians, or at least an Egyptian, thought, hey, what if we make something that looks enough like a bird that it can fly? And this was the way they tested it. I think that's pretty possible, because it doesn't look like any other bird carving that I've ever seen from that time. Now, from the air to the ground, the Malta ruts. That's our next OOPArt. The Maltese islands of Malta and Gozo boast an extensive network of parallel lines etched deep into the stone, presenting an enigma. These ancient tracks, numbering in the hundred, if not thousands, have puzzled researchers for years. Some of the some of the curious lines seem to intentionally lead off cliffs or extend from land into the sea, raising questions about their creators and their purpose. Known as, quote, cart ruts, these tracks are reminiscent of tracks left by carts, but their exact purpose and method of creation remain unknown. They consist of dual channels, parallel grooves carved into the island's limestone bedrock, varying in depth and width. Some are narrow, deep, and angular, resembling tool-carved furrows, while others are wider, shallower, and V-shaped, possibly due to erosion over time. At Mizragar el-Kabir, also known as Clapham Junction, the abundance of tracks mirrors the intricate web of rails found at bustling railway stations. Similar tracks exist in other countries, but their origins and purposes differ. Archaeologists theorize that the Maltese ruts resulted from repeated passage of carts, sleds, or skids over the same routes for transportation or industrial activity. But we're talking about in limestone bedrock. That's a lot of people passing over. Others speculate about an ancient irrigation system or astronomical function for the lines, kind of like Nazca. One theory links the cart ruts to the remarkable temples of Malta, suggesting they could be residual evidence of the methods employed in temple construction. Maltese archaeologist Anthony Bonanno posits that the ruts are Phoenician works from the 7th century BC. He believes they are linked to temple construction, especially considering their proximity to the quarries and temple sites. However, not all ruts may have been the result of heavy loads. Some might have been manually cut. Author Graham Hancock suggests they were initially carved out of the bedrock with the use of tools rather than worn away by cart wheels over centuries. Despite the various theories, many questions remain unanswered about the mysterious cart ruts of Malta. While they undoubtedly played a significant role in the lives of ancient inhabitants, their true purpose and the role they play may forever remain a mystery, obscured by the passage of time. There's several pictures of these online, and yeah, it just looks like somebody rode a cart or like a real old, like a Model T or something with the real narrow wheels through mud. But we're talking about in the limestone bedrock. So there was either a lot more people there dragging stuff around or driving stuff around, or they were intentionally constructed. For how long? I don't know. It's weird. That really predates what they thought they should have been able to do. I do like the idea that these tracks were left over from the construction of these temples, which maybe they should be looking for marks like this near the Great Pyramids. Just saying. So from possible construction to possible tools. Well, definitely a tool. The London hammer, our next OOPArt. The London hammer is a term referring to an anomalous object discovered in 1936 near London, Texas, United States, not London, England. It gained attention due to its unusual features and the controversy surrounding its age and origin. The object, often described as a hammer, consists of a handle made of wood and an iron head. What makes it remarkable is that the handle is embedded in a piece of rock, identified as Ordovician limestone, which is dated to about 400 million years old. This fact alone raises questions about how a modern human-made artifact could be found in such ancient geological strata. Again, I've seen a picture of this one. This isn't something that kind of looks like a hammer. This is, and we're not talking a big modern day hammer, but more like maybe like a metalworking hammer, or maybe one of the small hammers they use for breaking away small pieces of rock, like not a chisel, something like that. It's clearly wood and metal. This is man-made. Really, really bizarre. The discovery was made by Max Hahn and his wife while they were hiking along a creek bed near their home in 1936. They reportedly found the object inside a rock nodule. The handle was sticking out a little bit out of the rock. And when they broke it open, they discovered the hammer-like tool encased within. They claimed that the rock, along with the embedded hammer, was naturally formed and not a result of modern human activity. Since its discovery, the London hammer has been the subject of intense debate and scrutiny, like a lot of these are. Some proponents of alternative theories, including creationists and proponents of ancient advanced civilizations, have cited it as evidence of supporting their beliefs. They argue that the existence of the hammer in ancient rock layers challenges conventional scientific understanding of geology and human history. However, most mainstream scientists dismiss these claims and offer alternative explanations for the presence of the hammer in rock. One commonly proposed explanation is that the object is a modern artifact that was accidentally dropped or discarded by a previous owner and became encased in rock through a natural process over time. This process, known as concretion, occurs when mineral-laden water seeps through sedimentary rock, leaving behind deposits of cement surrounding particulates. This process, known as concretion, occurs when mineral-laden water seeps through sedimentary rock, leaving behind basically cement. Despite the ongoing debate, the London hammer remains a curiosity that continues to fascinate both proponents and skeptics of alternative theories about Earth's history and the origins of human civilization. I know there's another theory that it got ported back in time, and that it wasn't an ancient artifact, that it was a modern for the time artifact. Somebody dropped it, it disappeared, and it wound up in the past in the rock. I've heard that theory too. The concretion theory, I think that makes the most sense. If you've ever watched like a magnet fishing video, and people pull out things from the bottoms of rivers where they kind of rust or sediment builds up on them and it looks like they're in a rock, it makes that very plausible. So let's continue with rocks. For the next. This is a collection of similar OOPARTs, ones that are found in coal. The formation of coal, according to the World Coal Association, dates back to around 360 to 290 million years ago. Given this timescale, it seems implausible that any human artifacts could be found within coal deposits. However, numerous reports exist of such discoveries, where items have been found either buried inside of coal or within coal veins deep underground in mines. One incident occurred on June 11th, 1891 in Illinois. The Morrisonville Times reported the discovery of a small gold chain embedded in a lump of coal found in the South Illinois. The coal was said to have formed during the Carboniferous period between 260 and 320 million years ago. Mrs. S.W. Culp made the discovery as she was breaking apart a lump of coal, revealing the chain encased within. Remarkably, the chain appeared to be attached to the coal itself, not simply lying alongside it. Similarly, in Oklahoma in 1912, an iron pot was allegedly found inside a large piece of coal and is now kept in the Creation Evidence Museum in Texas. The discovery was documented by Frank J. Kenwood, who witnessed the iron pot falling out of a solid chunk of coal while working it in a municipal electric plant. The coal was traced back to the Wilburton mines and is estimated to be around 312 million years old. Another bizarre find occurred in 1944 in West Virginia when Newton Richard Anderson discovered an ornate brass bell inside a lump of coal he was using to stoke a furnace. Testing of the bell revealed an unusual mix of metals not consistent in modern alloys. Anderson underwent a polygraph test in 2007, which he passed, lending credibility to his claim, but I'm going to put an asterisk there. The polygraph test was taken 63 years later, in 2007. Polygraphs can't detect if something is true or false, only whether the person being tested believes it's true or false. So if he believed it's true, if he told that story enough times, and he believed it was true, even if it was a lie, he could pass that test, especially 63 years later. In the ebook I listened to, in the Encyclopedia of Out-of-Place Artifacts, I think this is the one they were talking about, where another bell appeared later on, claiming to be the same bell. I'm not sure if this is the one or not, but I know there's one of these where they found something, I thought it was a bell, and then one person owned it, another replica of it appeared claiming to be the same bell, but they were slightly different bells. So there's a little bit of discrepancy in that story. Here's another one. An older lady from Appalachia told her story about her miner father's discovery. Not her miner, but her father was a miner, coal miner. Miner father's discovery in a coal seam, an iron human face they named Man, just simply Man. Despite conventional beliefs that coal is too old to contain human artifacts, creationists suggest that coal seams, particularly in Appalachia, formed during Noah's flood, potentially preserving human-made objects. The miner found the iron face embedded in coal, and after cleaning it, realized it resembled a human face, with intricate details. The artifact likely originated from a casting process where a person's face was covered in plaster to create a mold into which molten iron was poured. The resulting iron mask, measuring 6 inches thick, weighing 50 pounds, bears facial details on one side and a flat underside with a protruding handle. While the artifact's thorough cleaning and reliance on descendants' memories hinders its scientific authentication, it sparks curiosity among creation advocates. Such anomalous fossils or artifacts offer intriguing possibilities, but require meticulous documentation for scientific acceptance. This iron mask may prompt other coal miners or their descendants to come forward with similar artifacts or even discover new ones, bolstering the credibility of this outrageous hypothesis, in quotes at the end there. These discoveries challenge conventional understandings of geological processes in human history. For instance, if these artifacts were truly located inside coal deposits as reported, and the geological ages of coal deposits are accurate, it raises questions about the timeline of human civilization, which it seems like every week or two gets pushed back further and further and further. Some of these artifacts bear striking similarities to objects from ancient civilizations, suggesting the possibility of ancient influences or connections spanning vast periods of time. There are reports of man-made structures found deep within coal mines, such as smooth stone block wall discovered in Oklahoma in 1928, and hieroglyphs found on a slate wall, and hieroglyphics found on a slate wall in Ohio in 1868. These findings add to the mystery surrounding out-of-place artifacts and challenge our understanding of human history and technological development. While those accounts may seem extraordinary and difficult to reconcile with established scientific theories, they highlight the need for further investigation and open-minded inquiry into the origins of these anomalous artifacts found in coal and stone deposits. I will add to that as well that we have the geology wrong. I know science is science, but maybe we've got something wrong here. Or maybe coal's way softer than we thought, and it can, I don't want to say self-heal, but if something gets launched in, what if this iron mask, let's say, was originated somewhere? It did originate way back, maybe 1,000 years ago, let's say. And the coal is 320 million years old. But where the mask originated was near a volcano, and the volcano erupts. And this mask gets launched up into the atmosphere and comes down. It's burning hot because it is coming back into our atmosphere, and it hits the ground and goes into a coal seam. Is it possible that something like that could embed itself, and because of the heat and the force, it could actually close it back up, and it would look like it was embedded in there? I don't know. Thinking outside the box on that one. But there may be more to that than we're thinking. We get stuck on one side of the story. Oh, where did this OOPART come from, and how did it get there? Maybe the thing that it's in didn't form the way we thought it did. It's possible. There's a lot more OOPARTs in that book. I've got a list of them that I want to go over, so I'll probably do another episode on these. These are just some of the ones that I was able to pull some information from quickly, and they are cool. There's a lot more of these ones in coal, and when you hear the stories, as I was listening to the audiobook of the Encyclopedia of Out-of-Place Artifacts, the one thing that they mentioned was it might have been that chain. It might have been that one. There were so many of them that they found in coal. But they thought, is it possible? Because like that concretion where the slurry, the minerals get in the water and it creates a slurry and then it creates a concrete, that can happen with coal too. Because coal is really dirty. I live in a coal region, northeast Pennsylvania, really big on coal. It was dirty. It was dirty to move. It was dirty to mine. It was dirty to burn. It was just so dusty. And that dust, if you get the right amount of water and enough dust, it creates a slurry. And when it dries, it can look just like coal, but it's just coal dust. And if it's been under any kind of pressure, it will feel almost as hard as coal. Maybe not completely, but it will feel pretty close. Is this what's happening? Did somebody drop a gold chain in some slurry? The slurry got dumped out. It hardened. It wound up in some coal. Somebody's breaking up this piece. All of a sudden, there's a gold chain in there. A lot of these, you got to look at from multiple points of view. A lot of these, you got to keep an open mind with all these because weird things happen. Like the hammer could just fall in the right spot. I'm not saying all these are easily explainable. And I do believe that human history, like history on this planet, is way older than we give credit for. Like ancient civilizations, I believe that there could be more. How do I want to say this? I believe that we could be playing catch up now with as advanced as we are to an ancient civilization that, for whatever reason, got wiped out. Either they did it to themselves, or there was some natural disaster, or something. And it would not take long, if the disaster was big enough, it would not take long for the surviving people to forget a lot. Because you're not going to be worried about if there's an asteroid strike on the planet and it wipes out 80% of the population, let's say. Guess what? The remaining 20%, they're not going to give a shit about iPhones or the internet. They're going to be trying to survive. So that information is just going to vanish quickly. Not to mention the fact that the people who make them, the factories that make them, they're going to be closed. They're going to be gone. Knowledge will disappear quickly. And then you got to start from scratch. Because it does seem like some of the technology we have now seems very familiar. Kids can pick up phones and figure them out faster than some adults. And I'm talking young kids. Is it something that we've seen before? That's why it seems so familiar. It would explain some OOPARTs, and I want to find some more of the really bizarre ones. So look forward to those coming up in the future. If there's a part or some other mystery or any story you'd like to hear me cover, you can reach me at podcast@primitiveintelligence.com. Send me an email. You can, if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, you can leave a comment below the videos. On Spotify, you can leave a voice message. And if you could, if whatever app or platform you're using to listen, there's a subscribe or share or follow, whatever you got. All those algorithm things greatly help any content creator. But I would greatly appreciate it if you could click on a couple of those. That'd be great. Enjoy the rest of your week. That's going to do it for me for this episode. See ya.